I saw something interesting that I haven't seen before. In this piece that's quoted by, where he quotes the Gra. I went to check it out in the Mishlei HaGra itself, and part of it is in the Gra, but the rest of it is really in the commentary on the Gra, where he brings the Gra's talmid of Menachem Mendel Shklover, and it is word for word from there, of course. But there's something there that I went to look for in the first place because it was something that I didn't notice the many times I've learned it. You know, as you learn something, you see more and more and more. You just notice new words, new things. So it says over here that he said to the Taya, the Arab, he said, Shkoil, Yehovcha, take your bundle, the Arab said to him, Ushodi gam loyim, throw it on my camel. So when it says Shkoil, I thought it was just, it is usually, in Hebrew you have that, and you have it in Gemara also, that he was coming and taking whatever. It goes to idiomatic expression, meaning throw it. Take your bundle and throw it, something like that. But he learns over the Menachem Mendel Shklover says on this, that Shkoil means keep the money that you should normally pay me. That was something new to me. It's just all the years that I've learned the Sefer, I never realized that Shkoil means keep the money that you would have given me. Well, there's a big difference, of course. Because it wasn't just that the guy came to him, but he really profited him, as we'll see later on. Not that the Arab suggested to him only, but that the Arab said, keep the money that you'd pay me. It's much more to it than that. So, and that, rightly, the Alter says that Bitachon does not require any hishtadlus. There is Bitachon without hishtadlus at all. Doing any effort whatsoever, there's Bitachon nevertheless. And that the Baruch Shalom helps you without having done anything. Now, Omnam Yesh Lamod B'Kavonas Hadvarim. We should understand what this means. Bahamik B'Keful Loshen HaKosuv. In what is the reason why the Pasuk doubles its expression? Why does it say B'tachel Hashem b'chol libcha v'binoscha al tishoim? Why does it have a double lashon? What's the matter? It's not plugged in? It fell off. Thank you very much. Why is there a double lashon? That was an introductory question. Now he goes into another subject. He digresses, and he'll come back to eventually explain the first one, why there's a double lashon. If we think into the nature of Bitachon, Nimsa, we will discover that there's really a double goodness, two good things in Bitachon, double goodness. The first thing that we'll discover is Menuchas Nafshoim, he called Tiras Hoilim. The person achieves something called peace in his soul from all the things that trouble in the world. Now, it's hard to understand what that means, peace, in the world that we live in, because the world is a very, very busy world. And if I just filled up at the gas station, and there's a thing called GS TV, gas station TV. Can you believe that? And you stand there while you're pumping the gas, and you watch TV because chas v'shalom, you should be a minute without TV pumping into your head. Can you imagine that our heads are really just receivers of stimuli? We don't even understand. We can't possibly understand what it means, Menuchas Hanefesh, peace inside our souls. But there is such a thing. If you get rid of the stimulus, if you get rid of the various things that stimulate your brain for a while, not in the beginning, but for a while, then you suddenly find that there's such a thing called peace, there's such a thing called quiet. There's an interesting, I came across someplace where there's a place in the United States, someplace where they give the geographic location that's considered the quietest place in the United States. don't know if anybody had a chance just to sit and listen to the quiet, the dead silence. But quiet is just about sound. But there's also in the side of a person, Menuchas Hanefesh. Like this person, koch, 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 koch. I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I must. There's Menuchas Hanefesh. Calm down, chill out, as they say. Chill out. So the first thing that happens is Menuchas Hanefesh. What this does is that just like a person who has a deeper problem, and they go into a neighbor or to somebody who's a friend and they say, I have a tremendous problem. The person says, I will take care of it. And the person who tells you that is very reliable and is capable of doing it. So you walk out of that meeting and you feel a relief about a tension that you didn't even know you had. You feel a relief. You didn't realize inside how tense you were. So if you give it to the Barnei Shloim, who can take care of it better than any other person, you just give it to him. If you're able to do that, take care of it for me. You achieve a tremendous Menuchas Hanefesh. You stop worrying. Stop worrying. So the first thing it achieves Menuchas Hanefesh, we call zt'L from all the distractions, all the troubles, the peklach in the world, tirda. Who needs oil? And he's saved, Pizar Hanefesh. Pizar Hanefesh is scattering of the soul. What does that mean? That means you have to do multiple things, because there's a lot of things to worry about. So he has to do multiple things, and that's mefazer him. He can't focus on any one of them, because he's got to do this, he's got to do that, he's got to make this deal, he's got to catch the flight, he's got to this, he's got to that, a whole list of things. He goes nuts. Pizar Hanefesh. There's so much I have to do. So if you have Menuchas Hanefesh, it saves you from Pizar Hanefesh. Pizar Hanefesh, scattering of the soul Nefesh. Needs some Pizar Hanefesh. Yes. Umichayei nedudim. Right? Beguf Hanefesh. B'drachim shel sakona, shel ha'achona, emtsoyim, mazikim. And also from a life of nedudim, of wandering over. That's not wandering because he's lost. He's wandering because he has to make this contact, that contact, the third contact. I know people, I have a passport, I let it expire really, but I know people that have passports that have extra pages. They're very, very thick. Because they're always taking off and landing. Now they're going here, now they're going there, that's their business. Now in Dallas, Texas, back to New York, now to Florida. Okay, when you're young, you can run around, it doesn't take a toll of you. As you get older, you understand, it takes a toll. You should know, most of all, Jews were peddlers. Why were Jews peddlers? Because they liked to peddle. Because all the occupations were closed to Jews. You could not become anything. There was one Jewish doctor in Rosh, as far as I know. Maybe there were more, but I know of one. Dr. Sergei was his name. You couldn't get into school. There were no schools for you. There was no future for you. Who could set you up in a business? You had no money. Someone had to set you up. Most people wore old clothes. I have a picture in my office. Believe that, I'll bring it in tomorrow to show you the picture of a fine young man posing for the camera at a photography shop. You have to see how he looked. I was always geputzed for the picture. Maybe we'll send somebody to get it now. Somebody volunteer to get it? Okay? It's on the break front of my office. Top picture, big picture, with a boy standing there. I want them to see what it looks like, what was going on. So the people being peddlers were running. They're always on the run. One shtetl, the next shtetl, knock on the door. You don't see that anymore. In my time, there was at least full of brush men. He used to go from door to door to sell brushes. He had a suitcase full of samples, and he sold, I remember very clearly, I never saw one since, peddlers. You don't see it anymore. But it was a chayin nedudim, a life of Misnoided. And everybody has it in a smaller sense. You may just go to the office and come back, But the traffic is terrible. You sit an hour and a half on the way back for a trip that should take you 20 minutes. Rush hour. And it's into the office and come on time and leave on time, etc. Nedudim beguf v'nefesh. Nedudim of your body and of your soul. Because when your body it runs around, your soul is running around. The cup life, the baral. I remember sitting years ago trying to have a conversation with a choshver mensch. You have it? Look at that. Look at this picture, guys. Oh, you come over and see it now. I want to show you. This is a picture that somebody took. This was taken probably in, let's say 1920 or something. It's a relative of mine, I don't know who it is. The Nazis did a job on him. He's a young boy, you can see he's maybe about 15 years old. And he's posing. See the background? He wasn't standing on any balcony. That was the background of the photography studio. It wasn't the balcony. But if you're going for a picture, you want to look, nice. Look how he's ausgeputzt. You see, he's got a tie. You see his shirt. There's no smile. Because pictures of European Jews never smile. Only in America they say, smile. Because America's a happy land. So in America, you can tell when you see pictures hanging of Zadie and Bobby on the wall, if they're smiling, they're in America. And if they're not smiling, they're in Europe. It's a fact. See, this boy's not smiling. And how do I know he's dressed up? First of all, it's in a photography studio. Nobody goes to a photography studio. You don't just walk in. There's somebody takes it on a cell phone. It's a picture you go, you pose, and you pay for. Like my mother took us for pictures when we were little kids to the photographer studio. But I can tell he's all dressed up because he's wearing spats. You guys don't even know what spats are. But on the top of the shoes, you'll have a chance to see. He's got a special covering that's classy, that kind of covering over your shoe. So it covers the laces and it buttons up. It's called spats. Nobody wears them anymore. So he's ausgeputzt. See what says to an ausgeputzte young man. I bet you he even owns the suit. He didn't borrow it from anybody. Good chance. It's a gevir. So Chaya Nedudim, that is what? Nidudi Hanefesh and Nidudi of the body. In what? B'derachim shel hachana. It's all about preparing. It's all about preparing. B'mtsoyim mazikim, and using methods that are dangerous. Or that are mazik, that harm you. A kid has to do it. I mean, you know yourselves. A kid has to do a paper on something for college. He has to do a paper. So he goes to the local library, he looks it up, he can't get it. This was before, everything's online now, of course. But I'm telling you, Ma'aseh Shoah here in the Yeshiva, before it was online. So he goes to the local library, they don't have it. So he has to go down and drive down and finds out he reserves the book in Peninsula Library, all the way down there. And he reserves the book and he comes in and he either takes it or he observes it. What's it for? For a paper that he has to present in college. For what? To finish the class. For what? To get a degree. That class is not a degree, and he might get just a B in the class if he doesn't present a good paper. If he wants to have this footnote in his paper that he's giving on, he started to write in a sociology course about tobacco habits in the Caribbean. That's a brand new subject. Tobacco habits in the Caribbean. And he's going to spend a lot of time on tobacco habits in the Caribbean. And there's a book, My Travels in the Caribbean, which tells something about watching somebody smoke on page 743, if you can find it. So you must go down to Peninsula Library, take off a Seder, in fact. Go down to Peninsula Library, get that quote, put it into a footnote, and the teacher's going to be so impressed that the teacher may give him, instead of a B plus, which makes a difference. That what is the difference of it? Well, you know when he's going to do a shidduch, the girl's going to see all his marks. Did you get a B plus or a shidduch? I want an A minus. You know the boss is going to hire him. He's going to look at that and he's going to say, what did you get in sociology 201? What did you get in it? I can't hire you. I'm going to tell him, what's it about? Preparations for life. And all of life is like that. I know a guy who went to open yeshiva. I think he's not alive anymore. So the first thing he did was to print letterheads. And then he made a stamp that he could seal the letters he's going to write. The old-fashioned Rosh Yeshivas, that they had these stamps, they'd stamp a circular thing. It says, Yechiel Perr, Rosh Ram, Yeshiva Derech Ayson, around the side like that. He made that also. And he got the name. He didn't have any talmidim. He didn't have a place to open the yeshiva. But he made all the preparations. A fellow called me up from yeshiva in Queens. He hired a fundraiser. And the fundraiser's been working for 7 months. And he doesn't bring in any money. I said, what's he doing for 7 months? He said, well, he's making preparations. I said to him, fire the guy. Because he's going to be making preparations for the next 7 years. A guy who comes into a job as a fundraiser, whether he has the preparation or not, even if he doesn't have a receipt book, go out and raise money. That's what you're there for. Don't make preparations. But all of life, we fool ourselves. Preparations. And what does that come from? That comes from the nervousness inside. And what does that come from? That comes from not having any bitachon. So he says, and there are preparations in drachim shel hachona, preparation, v'emtsoyim mazikim, using methods that harm you. Well, the simplest example of that is the guy who runs down to the library and sits there and gives up a seder. He harms himself. The guy who hires somebody who works for 7 months, he's paying a salary for 7 months for nothing. He's harming himself. Making preparations. That guy's making preparations, and the person who hired him is making preparations. Asher yuchal hikoshel al yodon, and through these preparations he can fall, he can be tripped. Besider chayov hachemri shaloi, he can fall in his physical life, his materialistic life, because came b'chaya haruach shaloi, and surely in his spiritual life. Because you see, we give up everything for the physical world. That's the first thing we give up. Give up learning. We can't daven. It's on our heads. And what's it about? Preparations. I hope the shots is not too long. I gotta get out of here. I gotta make the train. I gotta run. Why are you doing that? It's all really, I have to straighten out the desk in my office because somebody is coming to see me tomorrow. I want it to look nice. There's chaya hachomri and chaya haruach. Rak al hayoim. The person has bitachon, if he has enough for today, eina doeg dagas mocher. That's the word he uses, dagas mocher. He doesn't worry about tomorrow's worries. You let tomorrow worry for itself. If you can do that, you're a made man. You let tomorrow worry for itself. You have today, now you have. What are you worried about tomorrow for? What is tomorrow? And I want to tell you that insightful word from the author of the Sefer. It's worth it to give away all your tomorrows for one today. The tomorrows drive you nuts. It's worth it to give them away in order to live like a mensch today, without worrying about tomorrow. If you don't learn to do this, you'll give away all your todays for one tomorrow. Every day will be the same. What a half-dicker statement. I always understood when it says in Ma'ariv, as we finish the day and begin the day, Ma'ariv, we say, V'hoser soton milfoneinu u'me'achareinu. Take away the soton of tomorrow. It says, what's going to be, what's going to be? The soton of tomorrow take away. Milfoneinu, the one in front of us. U'me'achareinu. And the soton of yesterday. You can't do anything different. You've never done anything different. I know who you are, the Satan tells me. I know you. You're not going to fool me. You're an out guy. I've got you on the string already so many years. You're not getting off the string. That's Satan Acharenu. There's Satan behind us. That yesterday decrees tomorrow. But basically, what he says is very true. People who live worrying about tomorrow, they never get to it tomorrow. I have to tell you, a thought that's frequently in my mind that is a sad thought. And maybe I shouldn't tell it to you on Pesach Sheni, but I saw in the Lakewood Hanhogis that Pesach Sheni, he says, is not a yontif. It's just the day they brought a korban Pesach Sheni, but it's not a yontif. We're talking about tachnu, so it's not a yontif. So I can tell you something sad. I think frequently about the people that say, "And I shook." The women who were worried about whether the dishes would be washed tonight, and about the spots on the floor that have to be cleaned up, and about all the things that a woman worries about. And in 10 minutes, her life is over. The person who worried about his house and his mortgage, and 10 minutes from now there's going to be a knock on the door, and he no longer has to worry about making the payments, because it'll march him out and shoot him. And all that wasted worry of all those people, the human beings, that's how human beings are. They didn't learn Madreigas Ha'adam. So they worry about tomorrow. All that wasted worry. Nebuch. All that wasted worry. Beside the death and the horror of it, and how they killed him and everything else. But just that wasted worry. Small matter compared to the rest. But a matter that teaches us something. What are you worrying about tomorrow for? So somebody came to ask, I forgot who it was, Rabbi Chazkel was one of the Mashgichim. He asked him a shayla about, I forgot what it was. I'll make up a shayla. About whether he should do kach v'kach v'kach now, because it'll be helpful for him in the future. So Rabbi Chazkel said to him, I want to ask you, do you know if you're going to find a shidduch for your daughter? He said, Rebbe, what are you talking about? I'm not even married. But how do you know you'll find a shidduch for your daughter after you get married and have when she's 18 or 20, maybe 21? How do you know you'll find a shidduch for her? He said, Rebbe. He said, why don't you worry about that? He said, Rebbe, I'm not mechuyev to worry about things that are going to happen many years from now. He says, are we not mechuyev to worry about 25 years from now? Why am I have to worry about 25 minutes from now? What's the difference? Big Lima. I don't remember who it was. And so if he has it now for today, for now, he doesn't worry about tomorrow. Yeah. And he doesn't trouble his soul. It worries about maybe, perhaps I won't have. Because he's batuach that everything he needs will come to him. He has bitachon. V'osach da'avom, David will send me. He's batuach. That's the word batuach. David will send you what you need. You have to chazer it. Okay? Stop here.
In this one they have a different girsa.
Yeah.
It says Bitachon shel sakona, not hakona.
Oh, that's great. I'm sorry, Bitachon shel sakona. Okay.
I've heard of Meisar.
Why says hakona? They did a good job on it. They went over it. I was going to say sakona. It sounded right, but I said hakona. So I read hakona.
What's the different girsa? So what's?
It's not a girsa. They corrected it. They
have the original. They have the original.
No, I don't have the original. They use seichel. There's something called seichel.
This is the original one that was.
This was the first one, not the first that was printed, but the first that was printed all together. Because they were separate. Each was a separate countries. And of course there are mistakes in it. What's a shayla? And if they're not mistakes, so you correct it anyway. See, here's the lechatoyas. If they're not mistakes, you correct it anyway. Okay, guys.